G'day and welcome back to another DBZ Dokkan battle video. In this video we are going to take a look at the updated Extreme Z area for the Majin Buu Saga. So this is an updated Extreme Z area that is going to feature 3 new additional EZAs for 3 free-to-play units. So as with all EZA areas, there are limited characters per stage. I have covered the previous characters in this event, but you're going to need to slowly farm all of these units. Now, of course, these last 3 stages do only rely on the 3 newest EZAs, but you can see the character list there and featured units. There's quite a few free-to-play LRs you can utilize, and there's a pretty good roster for this one by now, because we've had so many free-to-play EZAs through this Extreme Z area. As always, left path on the first difficulty will give you bronze medals, the right path will give you silver, the left path on the second one will give you gold, and the right path will give you rainbow medals. You're going to need 15, 42, 30, and 30. So then in terms of Supreme Kai, he gets a pretty nice buff. He is going to be the worst unit for this EZA area, just because he basically basically there's no other Realm of the Gods units except for like Supreme Kai, so it's going to be quite difficult to actually get him to be quite decent, but we're not too concerned about that. We'll talk about that when we talk about team building. We have the Int Gohan and Videl, very good unit that fires off multiple super attacks. You're going to want to build them into crit. And then we have the TEQ Great Saiyaman 2 and 1. A really interesting looking unit as well for the joined forces, and the Pepe Girls team, or sorry, the Defenders of Justice team I should say. Of course, there are other additional EZAs. I have covered a couple of them in the past, including the Great Saiyaman and the Spopovich and Yamu. You're just going to have to go and get those videos. I have linked them in the top right hand corner, as I will link every other video relating to this event when they become necessary. So obviously you need to pick up the units. You can pick them up from the story events that I just showed, the Defenders of Justice, the Realm of the Gods, and of course we also have the Videl's Flying Technique event. In terms of missions, they're all pretty straightforward. You just need to complete these stages a certain amount of times, and you will receive some additional stones, 1 per each, and 2 stones per stage means a total of 9 additional stones that can be earned from this event. In terms of team build, we're going to focus entirely on free-to-play units because those are going to be the best option here. We're also going to refrain from using the LRs, mainly just because we are going to essentially rather focus on utilizing the free-to-play units you can use from the EZA area rather than the LRs. The LRs are free-to-play, like the Babidi and Bura and the LR Great Saiyaman, and you can use them. So if you do have them, I highly suggest using them. However, as I say, I wouldn't suggest realistically from my side showing them off, just because they can be a little bit more difficult than some of the other units to acquire. So this is the team we are going to go with for the very first event. You have to mandatorily include the Supreme Kai and the Great Saiyaman 2 and 1. So you need to make sure they are in your team. Remember, you do have the opportunity to get question marks. Those question marks are going to spawn bonus medals, and those bonus medals can range from 1 to 7 at any given time. They basically are a guaranteed extra run. They actually have to be a full run. So if you get them, it's going to cut down on your time. If you are just running the stage, you don't get any question marks. You're going to have to go on the left hand side 3 times, and you're going to have to go on the right hand side 3 times as well. That means each difficulty for each stage is going to be 6 times in total, running you up something like 72 stamina for the first stage, and it's going to run you up 150 for the second stage, which means in total each single event is going to be about 220 stamina, which is almost a full day's worth of stamina. So you're going to want to try and make sure that you can get it done as quickly as possible. Now, if you get bonus question marks, that will dramatically decrease the amount of stamina. Generally speaking, it roughly spawns once in every 5, so you should really get it, hopefully once per difficulty, and that'll drop down your stamina requirements by 37 on each single run. On this second stage, we have to include the Int Gohan and Videl unit instead of the Great Saiyaman 2-in-1. So we're going to do just that, and again you're going to want to focus on which side you need to go on. Try and alternate sides, that's what I always suggest. Alternating sides from left to right, generally speaking, is a pretty nice way to make sure that you get all the medals, because that way if you pick up a question mark, essentially you are able to like control which medals you have excess of. If you all of a sudden only focusing on the bronze side and the left hand side, and all of a sudden you pick up a question mark and that's bronze, you're gonna have tons of bronze medals and no silver. So I like to switch between the two. Generally I suggest finishing each unit as they come along. So for example, finish the first difficulty of the Supreme Kai event all the way up till Supreme Kai is awakened up to level 130, and then you move on to the very next event. I do believe that is the best way to go about it, because it means that each unit is actually individually getting stronger to help you finish the other events faster. In this situation, I highly suggest starting with Int Gohan and Videl, because they actually are really solid, and they can do a lot of damage to the other two stages, as the other two stages are TEQ based units, so having that additional Int unit is going to help you out quite a bit. So yeah, that's my major suggestions in terms of everything else. In terms of the units themselves, they are pretty interesting. So the Int Gohan and Videl unit, they gain a very serious buff, gaining 158% defense and increased attack stat. They increase their defense with every single attack they perform. They have a great chance of firing off 2 additional super attacks, which is pretty nuts. They basically have a 70% chance of firing off additional super attacks, which is pretty crazy. And then they also have the ability to raise their attack for 9 turns, so they could be a very interesting unit. They're also a Majin Buu Saga category lead, so starting with them and easy-Aing them first will obviously give you the chance to have a Int Majin Buu Saga lead, which will be a lot more helpful in these tech orientated stages than the AGL, Hercule and Buu unit would be. They're just going to help you a little bit more overall, realistically speaking. But yeah, they look really solid, and they're a very exciting unit, so hopefully we can see a little bit more of them. We'll do a review video on all of them at a rainbow level, so you don't need to worry about that. I will be showcasing just how good they can be, because I do think some of these units are going to be very respectable. Now Shin, or Supreme Kai, he is quite frankly the worst one out of the batch, and not because he's necessarily bad in any way, shape or form, but it's the way his passive works. So he gains 30% attack and defense per Realm of the Gods category ally on the team, and he gives superclass allies Ki +1 and attack and defense at 20%. Now this on the surface level is not bad in any way, shape or form. However, the issue is the free-to-play Majin Buu Saga units, and just the selection of units that you have in general is generally not really inclusive of Realm of the Gods category units. So it creates quite a issue for you when you're trying to maximize Shin's passive, because you can't really do so. You're going to struggle because you don't have a lot of Realm of the Gods units, which means whichever team you play Shin on, he's only really got himself, and that's really the issue. He's not going to gain any of his passive, which makes him probably the weakest unit overall and the biggest liability. So as you can see, we've completed the first 3 stages. What we're going to do is we're going to jump back and we're going to take on the second difficulty now. What I've done is I have obviously awakened my units. So I've awakened them to the point whereby they are level 130. Well, some of them. I don't think you actually need to awaken like any other than the Int Gohan and Videl and the Supreme Kai. The reason being is you obviously awakening all of them is very good, and I highly suggest it, but the Int Gohan and Videl are going to do a large amount of damage. And the only reason I would awaken the Supreme Kai is because he needs the extra stats, considering the fact that we're not going to be activating his passive. Now, Supreme Kai is not a bad unit in any way, shape or form. Supreme Kai is a very, very good unit because he, well, I don't want to say very, very good unit like he's going to all of a sudden be a, summonable LR level or anything. But he does a lot. He provides support, he can guard all attacks in certain situations, he recovers HP, and he also, looks like he'll function pretty well on a Realm of the Gods team. He also raises super class allies attack and defense with his super attack, so overall he's a pretty interesting character. For me, definitely a good upgrade to him. I want to try out and see how well he can do in certain situations. Now, the thing is, it's just a bit unfortunate that you can't really activate his full passive in this situation, and so that's going to make him a little bit of a liability. So whenever you can, you want to try and push him out of the way of damage, so that you can take everything up and just kind of sort the whole situation out. I think that's generally the best situation. I don't like to put him in harm's way, and that's just going to help you save a lot of damage, especially in these events, especially when you're facing the Int Gohan and Videl. You need to be very, very careful of where you place him, because he is a required unit for that event, and so that is probably your riskiest situation. Now, of course, it's not the biggest issue in the world, so you can get through it. You'll see. I will show you when we go on to the next stage just how much damage he takes and just how much actually happens to him. But it is definitely a manageable situation, but it is just something you do need to be fully aware of. Now, the Great Saiyaman 2 in 1 unit, they are a very, very good unit as well. Their easy air also is really, really nice. Gives them evasion, which is very good, and additional super defense upon super. They also debuff the enemy for 2 turns, and they are a special pose category ally buff. Now the thing is with all of these bosses, so in these extreme Z areas, is you can seal them, you can attack lower them, and you can debuff them. So if you are going to use the Great Saiyaman 1 and 2, or maybe you're going to use the Babdi and Deborah LR, or the Prime Battle Buu LR, or whatever you decide to use, just know you can debuff the units here. So you can debuff them, you can lower their attack, lower their defense, seal them. It's all very, very good. So I would suggest that you guys look at doing that if you are struggling. Even just bringing the Great Saiyaman 1 and 2 before their easy aim will allow them to at least seal the bosses, which is going to prevent super attacks, which will dramatically decrease the amount of damage that you are going to be taking. So I highly, highly suggest that you do. Just remember that you can debuff them, that you can bring down their stats, that you can seal them. It's really, really going to help you overall, and it's really just a good thing to do in the situations, because you do need to obviously manage how they do against you. So I do suggest doing that, being aware of that, and just making sure that it does occur. The Goku is a great source of damage. I bring him along all the time. Him and Hercule are still pretty damn good, so I generally like to use them. Hercule is just a Majin Buu Saga category buff unit, so I mean that always does help. So yeah, I will, of course, bring them along. I think generally speaking they are really, really solid, and they do really help out the team overall. So yeah, very, very, very good looking unit. So yeah, we're moving on to the final stage here. You can see I'm out of stamina. I'm going to use a meat just to do it for the video, but I don't suggest using meats a lot. I don't foresee a lot of content coming within the next week or so, so this is going to be the majority of your content for those days, just considering like how much stamina you have to use, etc, etc. So I would highly suggest rather waiting, and just, unless you're very desperate to link level again, just rather expending your naturally gained stamina for this event. It's going to just help you a lot more. Now, just an important thing to note about this third stage, because the Great Saiyaman 2 in 1 counts as a Pepe Gal unit, the Int Great Saiyaman that we use is not going to be able to do damage. He's going to be sealed because he can't attack Pepe Gals or youth category units. So just be aware of that, because he's not going to be a great source of damage, and you may want to consider switching him out for something else, just considering he'll have good defense, but he won't really be able to do too much more. And so I would rather bring someone that's going to be able to do some actual damage. It's going to help out way more overall. So yeah, definitely consider that, making that change, and then that should be able to help you out, should be able to, basically assist you in just kind of controlling how things go. But yeah, that is that's pretty much everything you need to know about the Extreme Z area. We'll discuss once we finish the stage. We'll discuss things like exactly what you need to have afterwards. But like I said, you need to have 15 bronze medals, 42 silver medals, 30 gold, and 30 rainbow medals. And then you also are going to need to have one base copy of the unit with its SA at 10 and all of its hidden potential powers awakened. And then you're going to also need a second copy of the unit, also Dokkan awakened, also at SA 5. This is going to help you save Kais once the unit hits their max level of 140. So yeah, I'm going to show you guys now my units. I'm going to show you the secondary ones that I've got to SA 5, and that's everything you pretty much need to know. So if you guys have enjoyed the video, I'd like you to leave a like, it really helps me out. And if you have any thoughts or questions, maybe you need some more help, you can always leave a comment down below and I will get back to you. But that is pretty much going to be it from me. Remember to feed these units into your units once they hit the max level of 140. Their SA will be 10 out of 15. But as always guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. But until then, take care, stay safe, and of course, as always, bye!